everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah.
And, have we recovered yet? Can we breathe once again?
Well, first of all, welcome back to everybody. We're so sorry that we had to, at the last minute, just put out some notice that we weren't dropping an episode last week. Obviously, I shared that I just had a last minute memorial to attend, and I appreciate everybody's kind words. But we were bummed not to record because it was a big week and it was International Week, which I love.
I was less sad. I was less sad.
I was going to rub it in Allie's face that England didn't qualify, but alas, here we are. We didn't get to do it. So I got to just slot that in right there.
To be fair, we still had a chance of qualifying at the time of recording. It was only after we were due to record, we failed.
That's true. But we're happy to be back here. And I'm happy to be back talking about this massive weekend.
But first, we have to talk about update on the Fantasy League.
It's been a while since we've done a fantasy update. But the short of it is that Allie is now the one who's not doing a good job. And I have crawled my way back to the middle of the table, everybody.
Can I just say it's because Ali hasn't changed their team in like 4 weeks.
I got a whopping 121 points on the week. That is an all-time high for me. Just for reference, my low was like 40-something. So this is a big deal. And I didn't set my lineup, but I still got 121 points because I ended up leaving like 20 points on the bench in Cooney Cross. So we're flying. But Mike, our editor, is beating both of us.
Yeah, Mike is taking this so seriously and has just got it.
Mike, every time you set your lineup, I'm going to need you to text me to set my lineup, please. We got to step it up in the second half of this season, Allie. We got to really step it up. It's going to be embarrassing if we finish in last, both of us, in our own league.
Can I just give a shout out to Rianne, who has been messaging Sarah to remind her weekly?
I really appreciate it too. It doesn't mean that I do it, but it does help me. All right, and finally, we are back this week. And of course, we will be here next week with our regular Wednesday episodes. And then we will take a quick 3-week holiday break. A great way to remember this is that we'll come back the week ahead of when the WSL comes back. So we will be off for 3 weeks, and then we'll be back the week of Monday, the 15th. Obviously, our episodes are dropping Wednesday. So Wednesday, January 17th, we are back. The WSL kicks off 3 days later on the 20th. So, of course, you got us this week, you got us next week, and then we're all going to go have some family time, including all of the players, and then we'll be back. All right, but without further ado, we've got a great episode. We're going to talk WSL, and also we have Bekki Morgan on to talk Racing Louisville and Expansion Draft for NWSL. So let's do it.
So we have to start with our game of the week, which is none other than the London Derby, the bragging rights for which colour the city is. It was Arsenal versus Chelsea at the Emirates, which as a sidebar has set the domestic record for a WSL game with the attendance. Over 50,000 fans turned up.
That's right.
More wanted to come.
59,000, almost 60,000. Almost
60,000. I know more fans wanted to turn up, but the British weather got in the way.
It was dumping rain. 60,000 fans in that weather is pretty wild.
Yeah, it was amazing. So clap yourselves on the back for making that happen, and I can honestly see that getting broken again at the Emirates.
Oh yeah,
I can honestly see that as the season goes on, that will get broken again.
I agree. I think we're in a season of a lot of record breaks. Like that happened in the NWSL this year, and I think that's going to happen in the WSL continuously this year. But that was really wonderful to see, and I mean, what a game! We were all so excited for this. I mean, I don't know if Chelsea fans enjoyed the game, but I think maybe the rest of everybody did. 4-1, Arsenal took it at home against Chelsea. It looked tight at first. Arsenal went up 1-0, and then Chelsea equalized really pretty quickly. And then once Arsenal started to run away with it, it was just, frankly, over. So we are here to discuss, because with this win, Arsenal are now sitting tied with Chelsea at the top of the table, even on 19 points. After a rocky start to the season, and here we are, Arsenal playing at home, beating Chelsea, and frankly, making Chelsea look like they didn't win the championship last year. Like, it was kind of a destruction of Emma Hayes' side.
Yeah, and even she said, like, in her post-game interview, she was like, look, we couldn't even get the basics right. It was very frustrating as a manager because I can't go on the pitch and like sort them out. So I'm just watching.
God, that's the funniest comment.
I'm just watching the destruction happen. Like and like there's a gif going round after the second goal of Emma Hayes' face after Arsenal's second goal. It was.
Can you just imagine Emma Hayes storming onto the pitch and being like, "You go here, you here, you here."
I can. That's the thing. I can.
Yeah, I mean the changes she made at halftime. She took the entire left side of her defense out and put the entire right side of her defense off and put an entire new right side on. So I think that'll tell you everything you need to know about. She was like, this is just simply not working. But it was also credit to Arsenal, their attack up that left side, and it has been all year with Caitlin Ford and Steph Catley, and that combination has been just ruthless.
Yeah, no, it has absolutely. You know, they're finding that golden chemistry that we've been waiting for Arsenal for a while.
Yeah.
Like, they've always been, you know, very close, but no cigar. There's always been like a little something off, something needs tweaking, something, or they've been hit with like 4 ACLs in a year or whatever, but now we're starting to see that chemistry really, really grow and flow.
Yeah, it's clicking. It's clicking everywhere too. Like Caitlin Ford and Steph Catley on that left side, and then with Beth Mead coming back and seeing how her and Katie McCabe continue to just like kind of pick up right where they left off and how they play together is so wonderful. And their midfield, I mean, the midfield is, I think, where we kept saying Arsenal might need to focus on because their back line is so weak. They need to shore up the midfield to protect a little bit. And did they dominate as ever in this game? Of course, Kim Little had such a great game. And then seeing how Pelova and Liavalti have grown together in kind of that double six has been really wonderful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then we're starting to see Russo really come into her own now. She's a bit shaky at the start of the season.
It was a big day for her, I think.
It was a big day. And like
emotionally as an Arsenal player.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna like really talk about the penalty because that was a soft penalty. But her goal, which was Arsenal's third, is probably one of the best I've seen all season, regardless of team. Like the way she cut through that Chelsea defense, like, you know, a hot knife through butter, and just slotting it in that top corner was just beautiful.
I agree. It was a big day for her, and it was just a big day for Arsenal. We can look at this as that. Everybody was firing on all cylinders. This really was Arsenal picking apart Chelsea. So maybe let's start with Chelsea because there's a lot to talk about here. Where do you want to begin?
Well, obviously, defensively, they were shocking. Like,
yeah,
you actually saw...
We have to start with the defense.
You saw Emma Hayes berate Jess Carter and Niamh Charles.
Yeah. And Niamh Charles, who's been so consistent and fantastic this season. It was an off day for her.
It was an off day for both of them. They were so out of sync. And I hate putting it on one player. I hate putting it that if you're missing one player, you die. But not having Millie Bright was definitely part of Chelsea's downfall because...
Yeah, she's such a core of that team.
She's such a core of that team. She can galvanise them from absolutely nothing. And not having that figurehead at the top, it didn't work because, it felt like there was a force field between Berger and her defence that she couldn't control her defence the way she wanted to. And normally you have Captain Millie as that channel, and it just didn't have it. And like you said, it was a really bad day for Jessica Carter and Niamh Charles. Like, that's not going to be one they want to watch back.
It was a bad day across the board, I thought. Actually, aside from the substitutes, I thought Ashley Lawrence and Kadisha Buchanan actually had great games when they came on. And other than that, you look across the field, and it was a tough day. Sam Kerr basically didn't see the ball. I mean, Chelsea essentially didn't have possession of the ball in their attacking third. Anytime they had possession, it wasn't in their attacking third. It really wasn't for a lot of opportunities, as opposed to Arsenal, and you felt like they were really threatening the entire time.
Well, that was it. Like, Chelsea didn't have possession. Like, as soon as they got it, they lost it. Like, they just couldn't maintain possession whatsoever. during that game. So had they, never mind, they couldn't score. They didn't have the ball to even try.
And I mean, listen, again, I don't really love calling people out, but I do feel like it's worth saying neither goalkeeper in this game had a very strong performance.
No. But the difference was Arsenal could defend and Chelsea could not.
Yeah, which is usually kind of the opposite question.
Yeah, it's normally Arsenal's problem.
Yeah, it really is. But I think that, I mean, to pivot to Arsenal, because look, at the end of the day, this is a big game in the table in that Arsenal now have beat Chelsea and now they're even on points. I think I said 19 at the top. It's 22 points. My mistake. Look, at the end of the day, this isn't like, oh my gosh, what in the world is going on with Chelsea? They'll be fine and they'll learn from it and they'll come back strong. I think the important thing to focus on this game is actually that this could be a turning point in the season for Arsenal, who are out of the Champions League now and frankly need to focus on the league. And they have, after a weak start, been getting better and better within the past 4 weeks. And this really was a peak. And the addition of Beth Mead, like, I can't say enough about, we saw what she could bring to England and just how she changes games from just simply being on the field. And obviously one player doesn't change everything, but you have to look at this timeline from when Arsenal have started to really level up. And I think Beth Mead has a lot to do with that.
She does, but can I just shout out Amanda Iliasted, who...
Oh, of course. What a goal.
We saw her phenomenal in the World Cup. Like, she kept Sweden in most things. And she's been a little quiet in Arsenal. It's not quite hit the way she may have wanted it to. But in the last 4 weeks, she's just, something's opening up. And that goal from a set piece was just beautiful.
Yeah, it was absolutely stunning. It was a stunning goal. This, to me, Arsenal have yet to have a game this season that is really their stamp on, hey, we can win the league. This was the game for them that I think convinced everybody that they actually can win the league this year.
Yeah, I think, I would put good money on Arsenal winning the league. Because I've said it from the beginning. I feel like Chelsea's biggest focus is going to be Champions League because it's the one thing missing from Emma Hayes' crown. And we know she's going. It's not speculative anymore. Mm-hmm. We know this is her last season. It's the one thing she's not got is a Champions League title. So I think this is Arsenal's time to shine and get that win now, the way they're playing.
Yeah. What they're doing, how they're able to isolate their players on the wings. I mean, essentially what they were able to do, how Arsenal were able to pick apart Chelsea is that they were able to pull Chelsea really, really wide. So Chelsea's outside backs had to come out to the wing, to step on McCabe, to step on Mead, Ford, Catley. They had to come out wide. And then they're either able to isolate their players to get, beat somebody one-on-one and get a cross off, or play a quick 1-2 touch to get into the box. But it's what they can do on the wings down in their attacking third for Arsenal is what they're so adept and dangerous at. And they just continue to get better and better. And I think championship teams can do that thing against the best teams. And the fact that Arsenal were able to do this against Chelsea's back line, and I know Millie Bright wasn't there, but these are some world-class defenders in this back line. Charles, Carter, Mielde, who did not have a great game, Paraset, these are world-class defenders. And that Arsenal could do that and play their game against Chelsea is a really big thing here.
It was the isolation, I think. I think the way they could isolate Chelsea's defenders to break them apart was everything, was absolutely everything. I mean, having the 12th man of a 59,000 crowd obviously probably helped.
There were plenty of Chelsea supporters there.
No, there was, but obviously away ends are now becoming a thing in the English league, so there wasn't as many Chelsea fans as there was Arsenal fans.
Yeah. If you're Emma Hayes, what do you do from here? What do you take from this? Because it really was, there was nothing Emma Hayes could do. She tried. She put on 5 different substitutions. That's half of your field players, with the exception of your goalie. She changed half the team. She changed the formation, and it still wasn't working. What was the issue? What do you do from here?
I would have changed my goalie, but that's just me.
Well, both of these teams, I think, need a little refresh on a goalie. And Chelsea's got 2 world-class goalies sitting on the bench, so they're fine if they need that.
Chelsea have got 4 goalkeepers just because one's on loan. Like, they've got a stupid amount of goalkeepers. But I think that's the thing. I think the biggest, if I'm Emma Hayes, because obviously, Champions League's back this week.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing. If I'm Emma Hayes, what I'm working on in training is not my front team, not my front players, is I'm working on that communication between my goalkeepers and my defenders, because that's what's let them down, because there was no communication between the Chelsea goalkeeper and the defenders. You look at that second goal, that Illistadt goal, Katrin Berger made the biggest rookie error I have seen her make in the way she came forward, didn't get nowhere near the ball, and it's just handed an empty net, basically. But her defender should have been able to pick up on that. Like, where was the marking? There was no marking on.
Yeah.
That's how you go down. And that's why you see the frustration on Emma Hayes' face with that second goal, because it was so pedestrianly
Yeah. And actually a big game for Chelsea coming up here in the Champions League. They're playing Häcken, who are actually sitting at the top of Group D. Häcken have beat Real Madrid. They've beat Paris FC. And now Chelsea are sitting just below them. This is a big Champions League game for them. So they need to sort it out, and they need to sort it out quickly.
Exactly, because one false move here, that's going to scupper your Champions League dreams, because Häcken have proven they can be giant killers. They're like, you know what, I'm going to take on anybody.
We have to talk about, we almost missed it, and unfortunately we have to talk about it. A lot of people are talking about Lauren James after this game, because obviously in the World Cup, she lost her temper, she stepped on somebody's foot, got a red card. We saw her tempers flare in a similar way, and obviously she didn't see the same punishment for it, but people are talking about it and saying that, I don't know, I've seen a lot of people saying stuff like they've lost respect for her, blah, 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 somebody needs to talk to her. What's your take on it, Allie? Because this is obviously a sensitive subject. We talked about it a lot in the World Cup and saying, look, and especially now that the David Beckham documentary is out and people hopefully have seen what type of abuse he suffered. It's just not, first of all, it's just not it. Don't go online and trash a player like that. Don't at them. And she's a very young player. And in the World Cup, we talked about how she was in a very, very big situation. And that can happen sometimes in those moments for young players. And I think that we both feel even more protective of her because she's a young Black player. And we know that that garners a lot more abuse from just the world. And so when this happened, obviously, it made me kind of sit back and be like, oh, no.
I'm starting to get a little bit sick of the narrative of if she's young. I'm like, you are a professional player right now. Like, I would like some steps to be taken about for all players to like how to like compose yourself when you're frustrated. And I think that with all players, not just Lauren James, because you're gonna get into these moments where games don't go your way. And we talked about petulance. How many times have we talked about petulance on this podcast with players doing stupid shit? Pardon my language, because they're frustrated and they're being petulant. The reason I wanted to bring it up is because yes, the stamp was stupid and awful, but a lot of hatred is being directed at LJ, and very little things are like being talked about, like Kate McCabe elbowing someone in the face. And like that, and before Arsenal fans, before you at me and be like, it was part of the game, she just had her elbow out and the player ran into her. No, that's not what happened. Her elbow went back and she elbowed a player in the face. Okay?
I do think that this specifically is being talked about because it was so mirroring what happened in the World Cup. Like, it was almost a blueprint of it, you know? But I get what you're saying, that, you know, like, possibly is this being talked about more because she's a young Black player? Maybe. I do think, though, that you get a pass for me in the first time. It's the World Cup. You're a young player. There was a lot riding on her shoulders in England. And then you don't get a pass the second time. When it happens a second time, that's when I sit back and I say, okay, I just want somebody to kind of like bring her into their orb, and maybe it's like somebody like Millie Bright. I don't know. Somebody to be like, okay, when you're feeling like, how can you translate this anger because I understand being in the game and having that aggression. Like, oh, I do. And I also have taken it out in bad ways where it's just like, sometimes you just want to hit somebody. Like, that's just plain and simple. Sometimes you're in the middle of a soccer game and you're like, I hate this person I'm playing against and I want to smack her to the ground. And that's just how it is. How can you translate that into the game? And that's what she needs to learn. And I want her to have a mentor who can show her the way and teach her that. Because maybe it's not Emma Hayes, but yes, because now for me, we've hit a point of you could have just really hurt your team again with that. And God forbid you get another red card for something like that. Like if there was VAR in the WSL, God forbid that happens. And now guess what? You're not playing for Chelsea for another game. That could really hurt your team. So for me, the online stuff, it's never the answer. It's just, I really hope that she can learn because now this time it's a pattern. Okay, so WSL, we're not going to move on to the Champions League yet. Let's stay here in the WSL. This coming weekend is the final weekend of 2023. We've got a lot of matchups here. I'm personally looking forward to quite a few of them, including Tottenham hosting Arsenal.
North London derby is going to be spicy.
It's always spicy. It's going to be extra spicy. Allie, what are you looking forward to here?
Do you know, I think probably the North London derby because, and again, I'm going to quote the wonder that is Emma Hayes, which is, for a while, in the men's game, Arsenal-Tottenham is furious. In the women's game, not so much because Tottenham didn't have that presence really to make it that sort of, derby. There is a lingering dislike, but it was never really there. Tottenham, they've been a bit hit and miss, but they've got some insane players. They've got some cracking players right now that are going to want to take Arsenal down a peg or two. They're going to want to do it. So I think extra special because of the way Tottenham are currently playing at the moment.
I didn't think they had a great game this past weekend against United. They lost 4-0, and I didn't think they played very well. But they always bring it against Arsenal, and they have been playing well this season, and I think they'll bring that against Arsenal. There's a lot of great matchups here. I frankly think these matchups this coming weekend is like anything can happen across the board. United, Liverpool, as I mentioned, I truly think anything can happen there. Liverpool coming off of a draw to Bristol City, they're mid-table. Everton, Manchester City. Everton been playing well. Bristol City taking on Chelsea. I mean, it could be the moment. Chelsea's coming off of a loss to Arsenal. They have Champions League midweek, and then they'll take on Bristol City on Sunday. And then, of course, Leicester City versus West Ham and Aston Villa Brighton, the bottom of the table battles here. It's a big one for you, Allie. For everybody listening, I'm specifically avoiding this topic of West Ham because Allie said, don't you dare right now. But we'll talk about it in January. Don't worry.
Yeah. Right now, I'm like, I'm not in the headspace. Don't you dare. Honestly, another game I'm really excited about, I have to say, is Aston Villa Brighton. I think that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's a fun matchup. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
It's over to Scotland. Both Rangers and Celtic had emphatic wins this weekend. Celtic winning 7-0. Rangers only scoring the 5 goals. Rangers are just 1 point clear at the top. This is going to be such a close battle for the rest of the season. The two teams don't face each other until February, so it will be interesting to see if Rangers can hold on till then.
And over to Italy, it was a narrow win for the current league leaders Roma this weekend. They even went down 1-0 to AC Milan. However, 2 very quick goals in the second half ensured the 3 points went back to the capital. Close rivals Juventus had a much more comfortable win, winning 4-0 to keep them in second place.
To España, Barcelona starting to creep away from the pack. They are now 8 points clear from the nearest rivals with no signs of losing momentum. Just like last year, it's looking like the true battle will be who gets the other Champions League spots.
And finally, over to France. Paris SC are proving they are the Parisian team to beat. They are currently second to Lyon, having won 4-1 against Montpellier. They are 5 points behind the league leaders, whereas PSG, who are in third, could only manage a draw against Le Havre.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides research analysis on loads of football, including the women's game. Want all the stats in one place instead of drowning in a mountain of tabs? Want to explore key matchups and the tactics from both teams? Total Football Analysis provides the stats and analysis to help you learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for just €10. That's €40 of the yearly subscription. Head over to totalfootballanalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Hello, we are back here with Bekki Morgan. Bekki, who is the women's soccer writer for the Equalizer and the Beautiful Game Network, and is a co-host of Butchertown Rundown, a Racing Louisville podcast. Bekki, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're really excited to talk to you specifically about Racing Louisville because I feel like this team doesn't get highlighted enough across the board, and we are culprits of that as well. But back in 2021, when Racing was new to the league, I had a great conversation with the Louisville Heretics, and we had a great conversation about the expansion draft and the club and just everything. So I'm happy to kind of bring it full circle and chat with you. I guess first things first, I know you're based in Louisville, or not in Louisville, excuse me, in Kentucky. Can you just give us some insight into like the fan base there? I feel like we don't get to hear a lot about these fans.
Sure. So I think one thing that is nice about the fan base in the area, the players definitely comment on is, I mean, it's a small city. It's a fairly small state. And so the team is really, really embedded in the community. I mean, you just walk around and the players are there and they're saying hi and you're saying hi to them. And it's very much a true community feel. I mean, you go to the grocery store and there's Sav DeMello, and you go to Target and there's Carson Pickett, and just wave and say hello and go about your business. But I mean, they feel like neighbors. And so I think that is quite unique. And so as a result, I think a lot of people feel like they actually know the players, not in like a weird way, but like, oh yeah, like they actually feel like part of the city in a much more tight community way as a result.
That's really wonderful. And I feel like that's what we thought that Louisville was going to be. And I guess where I want to take this is that it seems like such a wonderful fan base and community feel. And it hasn't quite been able to translate to the on-field product, right? And I think we're all like waiting on the edge of our seats for it to. It was a little surprising for those who are listening who don't know. Racing Louisville joined back in 2021 for their first season. They finished second to last. In 2022, they finished 9th out of 12. And then again, this past year, 9th of 12. They joined just 1 year ahead of Angel City and San Diego, and it kind of felt like they were always overshadowed by those two, but it also has felt like they could finish higher than they have been. So I guess the question for you is, why do you think this team flies so consistently under the radar? Is it like a publicity thing, or is it just that they haven't quite had that on-field product translate yet?
Well, I mean, it's a few things. I mean, Kentucky is not a flashy location the way, San Diego and LA are. So
Yeah.
It just doesn't garner that degree of attention. I also think that you can't deny the scandals and the trouble that the team went through initially with the first hiring of Christy Holly and the issues. I will say that I do think that the team has worked hard to move past beyond them, and the players will say that the culture is vastly improved and that they do believe that they feel they're supported and that they feel that they're in a better place. But I mean, that definitely severely hurt the team and stymied them. And I think that in this last year, they really did raise the talent on the team. They got Abby Ursig, Carson Pickett, Ari Borges, Tembi Katlana came back from her injury and joined the team. And, they just still couldn't really get going. And I do think that a huge part of that was honestly just a lack of creative tactics and just a lot of no real tactical progression on the team. They did play better. They did get better results. They did go much farther through the season and get much closer to the postseason they ever did before, even though they still ended in 9th place. But they didn't have much better results, I think, because they only improved based on the talent they added, not because anything was really being done any differently. And I think that is why we did see the coaching change that we did see at the end of this year.
So that's a great segue. It's like you do this on your own podcast. Because I want to talk about the coaching stuff, because Bev will be your third coach in pretty much as many years, if not with
Yes.
the fourth. So what insight can you give us with this selection? Because she was the assistant for the past season, and what does she bring? Is it a good move for you guys, or did you wish you'd had someone a bit more fresh who hadn't been in the mix?
So I think that Bev is a great choice, but it is a risky choice in some ways. So let's start with the good. She absolutely 100% has the support of the players. The players universally said they were ecstatic. That is a word that they used when she was hired. They absolutely adored her. From pretty much the week she was hired as an assistant coach last year, the players, whenever you would talk to them, they would bring her up in conversation and say, oh my God, she's so amazing. She has transformed our practices. She has changed everything about, how we do things, how we look at the game. She's so tactically smart. The fact that she was a successful former player in the NWSL for almost a decade is so important to us. She brings such an important perspective to the team. So, I mean, the players have loved her from the beginning, and she's just someone who is pretty much universally beloved. I mean, find someone who doesn't like Bev Yanez. Like, I would love for someone to find a comment that was said in ill will against her, because I've not been able to find one. And
I haven't either. She was at Gotham for 2 years when I was covering them, and it was only great things about her too.
And she's a rare person who is just like, you talk to them and they're just like, she's just motivational. Like, she just has that charisma and that energy that, like, she's going to be, and that drive that, like, she's going to be successful at what she does. She also, her whole coaching philosophy is based around the fact that it needs to be about player development and it needs to be about player education. And I do think that was what was missing at Louisville, because I don't think that there was any consistent development at the team at all. I think the former coach, Kim Bjorkegren, had his tactics, he had his style, he wanted to do it, and then he essentially saw the players as interchangeable and movable pieces, more like a chess game, that he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and that if they didn't execute what he wanted, then it was problem. Not like it was bad, it's just they had different philosophies of how to execute the game. I'm not trying to imply that he was abusive or bad in any way.
It's just a focus on different things.
Yes, she's very developmentally focused. He was not. He was very tactically focused. And I'm not saying she's not tactically focused either, but she's also of the mind that coaches also need to develop and grow and change throughout the season and based on what's called for them. And I did not see that happening with Kim either. And so I do think that she will bring an element based on what she says that is different than Kim brought, and that was what was lacking in Louisville previously. So I'm very hopeful about that, but we can only go by what she says because she has not been a head coach before.
Right.
And so that is risky. And so while Bev is universally beloved, is she going to attract mid to late in career star or, highly successful player who's chasing a championship? Probably not. They're not going to probably come for a coach who is completely untested in a team that has not shown much success. So I think Louisville's probably facing another year or so where they're going to be a developmental team that is going to have to earn wins before they are seen as being contenders. Now, if they come out of the gate and start winning right away and have a really winning season, that could change the perspective quickly. But I think going into the season, I think that people are very happy for Bev. But I mean, I think that it's risky in the fact that, it's not a slam dunk, wow, we have a proven winner who's going to transform this team. From what I know of her personally, the year I've spent covering this team, going to practices, talking to her, I think she's a slam dunk choice, but I think that, it's not one without its risks.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much for that. I feel like that's such a clear assessment. And it's interesting to think about Louisville in this state of, they might have another year of development, But what Bev can bring, and it's kind of almost at this perfect moment when, as we talk about the U.S. women's national team and how the coach that's being brought in and Emma Hayes is all about player development. And actually what we need across this whole country, throughout the whole system, from top to bottom, from youth to senior team and everything in between, is more player development. And that's, I think, what the players want as well. Yeah. And so while it might not attract a mid to late in career, person who wants to win a lot, it might attract very young talent that wants to grow and wants to be on a team where the coach is invested in their development as an individual player.
And Racing does have a couple more years with very strong players still on their roster. So, I mean, she does have chance to work with a strong roster. She has Carson Pickett for 2 more years, I believe. She has Savannah DeMello for 3 more years, I'm pretty sure. And, Jalen Howell for 2 more years, Katie Lund, I think, for 2 more years. So, I mean, the key pieces of Racing Louisville's roster are around for a minimum of 2 more seasons. So there should be a decent amount to work with and to build something. And I believe that she is strong enough and beloved enough by this front office and this club that if she has one, not a bomb season, but like an okay season, like a training wheels season, that they're not going to be like, no, get out of here.
Yeah.
They will understand. They understand they're hiring a first-time head coach. And I think they understand the risk that is inherent with that. But at the same time, I mean, I can't imagine a first-time head coach to be more confident in than Bev.
Absolutely. Moving from head coach over to another looking ahead type topic. Right now, we're in the lead up to the expansion draft. It's happening this week. Mm-hmm. Racing Louisville made one of the most complicated trades, the one that made everybody's head spin when we all kind of learned what alternative allocation money is.
I think they invented it.
Yeah, maybe let's start there for those who have heard of this trade and don't understand it. Maybe you can explain it, Bekki. Racing Louisville acquired Bay FC's natural 2nd round pick in the 2024 NWSL draft. So that's like the college draft.
Yes.
And protection in the expansion draft in exchange for the natural 3rd round pick in the college draft and $235,000 of alternative allocation money. I guess first and foremost, do you like this move for Racing? What do you see the goal of this move being? And what is alternative allocation money?
So let's start with alternative allocation money. Racing did not give that money truly to Bay. What they did is they gave Bay the opportunity to purchase that money should they want to. So each team has a certain amount of allocation money that they can purchase each year, but it's limited. So it's not an unlimited supply. And so Racing basically said, here's a chunk of ours that you can use if you want to, but you still have to buy it. So Racing can buy less and they can buy more. So Racing didn't actually hand them money and Bay may not use it. They just gave them the opportunity to buy money.
So for everybody listening and for us too, what's the point of that? What is the point of all of that?
I think the point of it is Racing had a lot of allocation money from, I think that was left over from their first season that they were not going to use. And they were like, well, okay, fine. You want to use it? Take it.
Yeah. And Bay has deep pockets, so they probably will use it.
But I think more importantly, Bay is probably trying to sign someone really big and they don't want to buy that money if they don't think they're going to use it. But it's nice to have that in their pocket and they can buy it if they do need to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it kind of works for everybody without like anybody actually having to spend
without anything actually happening.
So like really no money actually got spent. It was really just the draft pick trades and then the opportunity to spend money. So if you think about it that way, I think it's a good trade for Racing. And then the protection is just kind of arbitrary because, it doesn't really matter because it's the 11th and tomorrow protection lists are due and they don't have any deal done with Utah. Right. And I'm assuming they're not going to get one over the line. I know that they have been working with on one this whole time. They thought they were going to get one done. They did not think that they were half protected this whole time. They knew that they needed to get both done in order to be fully protected. It's just that I think Utah was smart enough to say, we have you exactly where we want you.
Yeah.
And, we don't have to make a deal with you because now we can get 2 of your players. So.
I mean, we can do a whole episode on just expansion drafts because, like you just alluded to, obviously The Athletic released an article about this. There is kind of a loophole where Louisville did get protection from Bay FC with this trade, so Bay FC can't take any of Louisville players, but Utah Royals could potentially take 2 players from Racing Louisville. So
it's
are
so
they
confusing.
even protected to begin with? Was this trade even necessary to begin with is the question.
The argument is if it's easier to protect against, like, if you know what one team wants, it's easier to protect against one team and to build a protection list against one team if you know who they're aiming for than it is against 2. So even if they're going to take 2 players, like, instead of like going against 2 teams that want like disparate things, like, I think that's the argument. But no, I think the goal was to get protection from both, and they couldn't do it, and only Orlando was able to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that the expansion teams were smart enough to realize that, like, okay, we can really use this to our advantage. And
there's absolutely leverage. Orlando is sitting in the best position. The teams that learned that trading instead of leaving it to chance is the better move are the ones that will do the best. But I do think Racing is set up in a very good way, just in terms of who they could protect and who they could leave off. I think that they won't be ripped apart in this expansion draft.
They won't, but there's no chance that they aren't going to lose someone that will sting a lot. I mean, I think that there's no way the fans aren't going to be very sad, and the team's not going to be very sad. But I think that's true of pretty much every team. So.
Well, dare I say, I think that it's looking up for Louisville, and I am really excited to see what product gets put on the field for them next year. And Bekki, thank you for covering them. Thank you for everything that you do. Where can people find you on socials if they want to?
I'm still going to call it Twitter. I cannot call it X.
As we should. Yeah, as we do.
Bekki_Morgan. And that's pretty much it, to be perfectly honest. So, and then wherever podcasts are found, at Butchertown Butchertown Rundown is my Racing Louisville podcast. And then, of course, on Equalizer Soccer.
Wonderful. Bekki, thank you so much. We'll have to bring you back on during the season to talk all things racing and how they're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And that is it for us here at the Women's Soccer Show. We will be back next week for our final episode of 2023, which is absolutely crazy. Oh my goodness. And we will have a lot to talk about because there was Champions League today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday. There's obviously WSL this weekend, and the expansion draft will have happened. So we're covering all of that in our final 2023 episode next Wednesday. And we'll catch you then. So for us here at the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.